Hi gang, Rob here. It is the evening of 22 September 2013, coming to you with an extended use report. Lionsteel SR-1, which has a titanium handle, was awarded at Blade Show 2010 the Import Knife Design of the Year. Primarily, I think, because of its monolithic handle, one piece of either titanium or aluminum in this case. If you have the time to endure my 30-plus minute review on this knife, you'll know that there are a couple reasons I chose, when I bought one, the aluminum version, one of which is the price, about $200 less than the titanium version. The SR-1A can be had in this configuration, satin blade, black handle, for about $170 US, shipped to your door if you make the right score on one. I also liked the balance better in the aluminum knife. Let's look where the balance point is on this knife. Absolutely perfect, right in the finger choil where it belongs. I also like the way aluminum behaves in a frame lock. I was a little leery about that, to be frank, but oh my. Let's take a look at that lockup. When I got this knife new, I believe it sat at about 40%, and where do you think it is now? Maybe 45 or 50, having worn in for over 3 months. And let's see, if I've owned this knife for 90 days, I bet I've carried it as my EDC for 50 of those 90. Number one, because I wanted to see how it held up, and number two, I just like to carry it. It does have a bit of a slippery handle, but once you get it locked into your hand, it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, look how your hand just falls into place, thumb perfectly resting on the very effective, albeit short jimping. Your four fingers cradled nicely. I mean, it's really quite good in hand. And because of its sort of slick texture, even though it has a broad profile in the pocket, your hand just slides right down beside it to get out whatever you need to get out of your pocket. Look how this deep carry pocket clip is holding up for a couple months, 3 months. I don't see a scratch on it. Maybe you guys can pick one up on camera that my old eyes don't see, but wow. I did see a couple sort of rubs or scuffs in the black finish just from, maybe banging into it with my ring, getting into my pocket, but nothing remotely close to through. If you notice, the finish on the butt of the knife where you don't touch it is a little bit more matte than on the areas of the knife where your hand rubs against them. It's a little more glossy. Now, I know there are a couple marks on this knife. One is right on the corner above and to the right of the pivot. It is through to the aluminum, but I've touched it up with a little Sharpie, and it's really hard to see. And then if you look at these inside corners, again, just from rubbing across things, maybe coming in and out of the pocket, the very inside corners, you can see where the finish is barely rubbed off. It's hard to notice, and I'm a left-hander. My wedding ring is constantly rubbing this knife handle, and this hard anodized black coating over the 7000 series aluminum is holding up unbelievably well. let's look at the pivot. Now remember, one of my areas of concern was that this knife is a nylon washered device. You know, the super heavy blade, monolithic handle, all, you know, speak to great rigidity, and then they put nylon washers in here. And well, let's look. Side to side play. There's nothing. And let's see how we've got it adjusted. It's a drop-free blade with the tension off the lock bar. Okay, so we have no side-to-side blade play with a drop-free blade. Well, certainly the centering must be whack, right? Let's take a look. Try to get this lined up for you. You see that? After 3 months of use, still perfect. In fact, it may be a little better than when it was new. One thing I have noticed, what was a really stiff detent has eased up a little bit. You know, the edge has worn off the hole in the blade just enough to make it super fast. No wrist action needed for flipping deployment. One thing that I should mention also, when this knife was brand new, the lock bar tension was unbelievably high. It has eased just a bit. I think, you know, when I shake it closed, it's just a little freer than it was when it was brand new. Now, has that translated to any up and down play? Absolutely none. And I have not babied this knife, guys. Remember, I did a hard use, sort of a hard use comparison or side by side with my Benchmade Adamas, both D2 blades. This knife, you know, I didn't take either one of them to fail or to yield, but this knife performed pretty darn well. I had to adjust the pivot after that test, but other than that, it's showing no signs of wear. So essentially what we've got is a knife that's not just a beauty queen. It is a bona fide, sturdy folding knife that holds up mechanically and cosmetically. Worth every penny, guys. I mean worth every penny. And that D2 takes a screaming edge and holds on to it like nobody's business. And I don't take extremely great cosmetic care of this, but I don't see one spot, one hint of any corrosion on that nicely finished satin blade. What a winner. Guys, if you don't have one of these, you got to get one. Big blade, very pocketable, great fondling knife, great cutter. Bravo, Gianni. Bravo, Lionsteel. This thing has become one of my favorites, and I sort of bought it on a whim. Didn't even know if I'd like it. Oh boy, do I. That's all for tonight, guys. Still passing with flying colors. Grace and peace, and remember, the word is sharp. Have a good night.